1838, Abraham Lincoln, a recent arrival to the frontier town of Springfield, Illinois, delivered one of his earliest public speeches to that town's Young Men's Lyceum. Lincoln's speech was inspired by reports of mob violence in St. Louis and communities across the nation, but the message had broader implications for a nation torn by the struggle over slavery. Lincoln had grown wary of an increasing disregard for the law. He saw the growing tendency of vengeful citizens to administer their own brand of rough justice as an evil omen. He insisted there was a grave danger in substituting wild and furious passions for the sober judgments of courts. Lincoln reasoned with his audience. At what point shall we expect the approach of danger? By what means shall we fortify against it? Shall we expect some transatlantic military giant to step the ocean and crush us at a blow? Never. All the armies of Europe, Asia, and Africa combined, with all the treasure of the earth in their military chest, with a Bonaparte for a commander, could not by force take a drink from the Ohio or make a track on the Blue Ridge in a trial of 1,000 years. At what point, then, is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer, if it ever reach us, it must spring up amongst us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher. As a nation of free men, we must live through all time or die by suicide. Lincoln's address was a warning to a nation whose citizens were laying the foundations of what New York Senator William Seward called the irrepressible conflict. As Lincoln spoke before his friends in Springfield, that very conflict over slavery was being fed by the doings on the plains of Texas. In 1821, Mexico gained its independence from Spain and reversed the policy that had blocked the settlement of Mexico's northern province of Tejas. By 1825, Stephen Austin had organized the settlement of 300 families along the Brazos River. Many of Austin's settlers entered Texas with their slaves, which proved to be one of many points of friction with Mexico City. Upon its independence from Mexico, slavery in Texas would become a point of contention in the United States. The new Republic of Texas wished to enter the United States and sought a treaty of annexation. Treaties are negotiated by the President but require a 2/3 majority in the United States Senate for ratification. With the widening divide over the issue of slavery, it proved impossible to cobble together the superior majority necessary to annex Texas. There were other complications preventing the annexation of Texas. Mexico remained hostile to the idea and threatened war. There was a significant border dispute between Mexico and the Republic of Texas, and Texans, during their decade of independence, had rung up considerable debt to foreign powers like Great Britain. While the presidential election of 1844 was primarily a referendum on westward expansion, it was also the first election in which the slavery question played a prominent role. The Liberty Party, founded in 1839, was something of a rebellion in the American Anti-Slavery Society. The Liberty Party took the position that the U.S. Constitution was, in fact, an anti-slavery document, and that political action on the federal level could bring about the end of slavery. The 1844 campaign pitted the Whig nominee Henry Clay against the Democrat James K. Polk. Polk ran on an avowed expansionist platform that demanded the annexation of Texas, the Oregon Country, and the purchase of California from Mexico. Clay was muddled on expansion in general, as it was a popular issue in much of the nation, so he tried to play both sides of it. When it came to Texas, though, Clay was opposed to annexation. 1844 was a close election, and the participation of the Liberty Party proved decisive for the Democrat Polk. James G. Birney, the Liberty Party candidate, polled well in New York and very likely prevented Clay from carrying that state. With the election results in, the the sitting president, John Tyler, accepted the will of the people and engineered the annexation of Texas through a joint resolution of Congress. The irony of Polk's victory was not lost on Abraham Lincoln. In opposing the slaveholder Henry Clay, the Liberty Party had guaranteed the admittance of a new slave state, something else these abolitionists vehemently opposed. In a letter to Williamson Durley, one of these Liberty men, Lincoln summed up the problem. If the Whig abolitionists of New York had voted with us last fall, Mr. Clay would now be president, Whig principles in the ascendant, and Texas not annexed, whereas by the division, all that either had at stake in the contest was lost. It would seem that the purity of the Liberty men in New York handed the slave power the first of several victories en route to the Civil War.